That's Lean and Kanban in a nutshell. You can go into more details on Kanban, of course you can. And there's also the Kanban methodology. It was created in 2000. We don't go into that here, but there is an opportunity to look into Kanban in more detail as an actual methodology. One of the things that's come out of Lean and Lean Startup is the Lean Business Canvas. Now, same as a Surge Canvas, same as the Business Canvas, it's not designed to be done once. You iterate it with the customers or the users. So the good thing about a Lean Business Canvas is you can do this with users as well as customers, which I find quite interesting. What I like about the Lean Business Canvas is we start to use this in organizations instead of a business case. No, not perfect, but it's very handy to use it instead of business case as a step one. To really bring down those 70-page business cases into a couple of Lean Business Canvases. It also splits your projects up a lot better as well. As you can see, you have the market stuff on the right, product stuff on the left. Yes, the customer segment is basically your persona. And if you've done a value proposition, that's where the unique value proposition goes. So what I'm trying to show you is how data from one thing can move into the next thing a lot easier. And that's why sometimes doing it in the same linear flow can be a lot easier for your organization. You have problems, top 3 problems, top 3 features of the way of fixing those problems. I recommend using this for one problem or interdependent problems as opposed to top 3 problems. But this is from the Business Model Canvas, guys. So it's licensed under the Creative Commons Act, so you can go and download this as well. Key metrics, obviously, as we spoke about before, making sure we measure for success at the start. And channels. Channels are all about the path to the customers. You can also use the word partners. It's about all the people that you may actually use or systems you may use to get to that solution. Unfair advantage is not used very commonly, and it's really just about what makes you different. But then, that's in the unique value proposition as well. So I'm always a little bit dubious on whether it has any value inside it. But there are whole courses on the Lean Business Canvas. I'm just here to show you a high-level overview of this. The cost structure is all about what this is going to cost you to achieve this. So you've gone through your brainstorming or your studio design. You've come up with a whole bunch of outcomes. You've moved the outcome into the Lean Canvas section. In the Lean Canvas section, you're now filling this out for that one outcome. You're checking the costs, the revenue streams, to see how now you could checking to see if is it viable, is it feasible, is it desirable? Because you're getting all the information here. You're working with customers to make sure this is all correct. So is it desirable? Do customers want this? Well, you'd go and check now. Literally talking to customers or users. Are these your actual pain points? Is this solution going to fix that? Does this make sense? Are these the right channels that we're going to work through? Viable. Okay, is it possible? Is it actually possible? Is the solution even, does it make sense? Get the right people in the room to actually look at this and go, yes, no, technology's there, this will work. No, we can't actually transport goods via, a phase generating machine that's not been invented yet. No, it needs to be viable. And viable also may mean revenue. So what's your cost and revenue streams from this? What is the functional and non-functional benefits? Can you translate the non-functional benefits into customer value so therefore you can get objective measurement? Always something good to think about. If it costs an immense amount more than you originally predicted in your prioritization, then trash it. Put it to the back of the queue. Do something with it. Don't move forward with it if your assumptions are wrong. This is why we do the Lean Business Canvas. It's to check our assumptions. If they're wrong, we need to go back and change them. Which leads us into Lean Startup. Now, I recommend reading the book actually. It's a great book. It's a little bit old now, and there is a follow-up book specifically for leaders to transform to Lean Startup. What I like about this book though is its simplicity. It's all about the build, measure, learn cycle. It is Kaizen. It is continuous improvement. But it goes into detail on some things that you can actually use. Now, you can use this for product startup. You can use this for starting a business up. But what I like about this is just to keep some of these tools in the back of your mind of whether or not they would work. You've taken it through, you've created the solution, the outcome, you put it into the lean canvas, you brought the lean canvas into your validation zone. You've moved this in the search canvas, you've moved it into the validating column. This is where we start validating. Does this make any sense now? And as you can kind of see, some words pop out there. Experiment to move numbers closer to plan, right? So you gotta do small little experiments, right? To make sure this is actually correct, this makes sense. Go and see for yourself. So actually go on the shop floor and have a look. Don't rely on what other people have said. Split testing to find cause and effect. Pivoting, always pivoting. Which activities create value? So again, looking for the waste. The 5 whys, we'll go through in detail in a minute. Stimulate with people. So Eric really understood that it's a people-centric changes. Start with one customer. So again, we're always having one customer segmentation. But all the way through this, you'll notice we've done that, right? Apart from the empathy maps is when we find our customer, and from then on, we're working with one customer segmentation, and preferably a niche customer segmentation. So minimal viable product, one of the most overused terms in agile transformations. Minimal viable product causes the fear of any stakeholder that they're only going to get some crappy product. It is not low quality cost saving. It's not. It is, to validate an assumption, time saver. As I say, with my post-it example, put something on a post-it note. Go talk to a customer. Is this what you want? Is this what you'll click? Is this what you'll do? What is the minimal amount of information you can actually validate those assumptions? So you have a lean business case right now, business canvas, sorry, and you bring it into validation section of the search canvas. You're going to go in there and go, right, can we make sure that the customer wasn't a once-off customer? The customers are actually correct, that the costs make sense, that the revenue makes sense, that the features we've got here, we've got 15 features for this project. Okay, let's do the first one and see if we actually get any benefits. Do we not get any benefits? Well, we just save $4 million as opposed to spending $4 million and then realizing there's no benefits. So the validating phase is all about doing the minimal amount of work to actually validate the assumptions you put in that lean canvas. That's the power of the lean canvas, and that's the power of the search canvas. The lean canvas gives you a whole bunch of assumptions of where you think you are right now. And then when you validate them, you may find they're incorrect. And that's fantastic. You've wasted 50K. It's not even a waste. You spent 50K to stop yourself spending 4 million. Fantastic. It saves you time. This is a very common picture of MVP, the Mona Lisa. Customers thinking of the Mona Lisa and then paints it. On the bottom here, you'll see that they're thinking of this vision, a woman in pastoral settings, and then starts and keeps going and keeps going. The idea is that you could possibly sell or change as you go. I would always argue that actually the Mona Lisa at the top there could be sold. Headshot. But hey, I get the reasoning behind this. The idea is that you may not know exactly what you want and you need the ability to change it. And we all know actually that most artists paint over their already made paintings. You can download this in your lesson guide as well. This is a hypothesis with minimal viable products. So you look at your lean canvas and you go, what assumptions are we making here? And then you basically find out how to actually test each one. It's very simple and free for you to download it and have a look for yourself. But as you can see with examples here, MVP 1, street corner lemonade stand with tables, chairs, and basic signage. Right, so what they're saying there, back to our lemonade example, is we can test our assumption in a very, very cheap way. And I do this a lot with actual startups. And people will say, oh, I need a shop to sell baking goods. Well, no, why don't you go on the council website and get your baking done at home? So my wife started up her wedding cake business here at home, and she got some lovely cakes out, realized that she doesn't actually need a fancy shop. In fact, most of the benefits from people are not going to a commercial entity. It's from a small local trader. Boom, love it. Save some money and make customers more happy. So MVP is all about the minimal amount of value you can produce to basically test a hypothesis. Split testing. A/B testing, especially in technology, is very important. The idea is that you will run 2 tests at the same time. Again, it's research-based. 2 tests at the same time, getting different variations, and then you measure the conversion rate. This can help you test a hypothesis as well. And one of the key things that I get from this is this wasn't that easy to do back in, I think it was 2005 this book came out. Now it's a lot easier to do. You can look at customer segmentations on Facebook, LinkedIn, all the online programs, and you can point in the age group you want, the type of person you want, and you can give them 2 different options. This is why design thinking is going to get very important in the next 5 years. Because if you identify the right niche customer segmentation, you can really aim for them and then do A/B testing to find out exactly what tickles their fancy. Five whys. 5 whys. So I understand you need a horse. That's right, a horse right away. But you don't need to ride it. Of course not, I said a horse. And it should have horns and you're gonna milk it. What are you, a half-wit? Of course. What else do I do with a horse? I'll see what I can do. People come out with solutions all the time, and it's always good to ask why. Why? Why? Keep asking, and maybe not why, because why can be quite, quite rude, but try and keep asking questions until you find the root cause. And here's a good example. I owned a butchery in Wellington, and when I went for my council licenses, they came in straight away and they said, you need a stainless steel shop. Like all the other butcheries. I said, why? Health and safety reasons. Interesting. Why? Because people may touch the meat. You need to stop them from touching the meat. But why is that? Because meat's on display. Are you a half-wit, Michael? So if I don't have meat on display, if I have them vacuum packed, sealed, and has set pricing, and there's no way of touching the meat, then this entire section of the shop does not require the health and safety guidelines. No. I saved myself $25,000 on my startup because I only had the back of a butchery set for the health and safety guidelines. Everything in front was all open plan like a normal retail shop. $25,000. I started a butchery up on $9,000 because of that one small indiscretion. It's the same way in the butchery that if you have certain things, you need them to work. Same way of a WAF or an MOT, which is a car safety check. If you don't have them, it doesn't have to work. So we didn't have all the machinery out back. We had knives and we had stainless steel tables. When I went and looked to help farmers do home kill of their own beasts and sell in the local market to increase local economies, people were throwing insults at me galore. But when I looked at the regulations, if you had a stainless steel container with a knife and running water, that's all you required for the health and safety regulations to sell meat locally. When I wrote the white paper, it astounded not only the ministry, but it also astounded local producers who thought, I can actually do this. This is MVP. And now I think the Great Barrier Island is using the same techniques to, instead of sending their cattle from the Great Barrier Island into Auckland and then back to the Great Barrier Island, they're now able to process it on the island and sell to their own people. Less waste. Always good to ask why. So I'm going to end this lesson on Nirvana. Now I'm assuming you've done these lessons in order. And if you haven't, this may sound a bit confusing. We have a goal in our organization, a way of measuring success. Now, your goal could be something very simple like increase revenue by 47%, increase customer satisfaction by 27%, increase stakeholder value by X. Okay, just goals, flamboyant goals. It'd be great if you have a why statement. I want to put a ding in the universe. I want to reduce child poverty. I want to be an instrumental visionary for female leaders. They're great goals, but I won't judge you on your goal. You're going to break them down and you're going to have objectives. Now, these could be called strategic initiatives, up to 1 year, I'd recommend. Or in the Scaled Agile Framework world, a theme. If you look at the OKR model, then those objectives are quite big. In the initiative point of view, I still recommend up to a year. Any bigger than that and you start to get into financial problems. You're going to break them down into outcomes. Using the Surge canvas, you'll have outcomes. I recommend every outcome to be 90 days. Therefore, you can call them epics, or you can call them features. It's the how. So your strategy is done yearly or every 90 days, depending on how fast you want to do it. But in this case, say yearly for most organizations. And then your outcomes are quarterly. So you're planning quarterly and you're doing strategy yearly. The solutions are delivered quarterly. And a lot of purists will tell me, no, it must be delivered every 2 weeks or 1 week or as much as possible. For most organizations, if you've measured amber or even orange, it is highly unlikely that you're delivering value every quarter to your customers. You are normally doing a yearly to 3 yearly strategy planning sessions. And I like to see you get down to a quarter every 90 days, continuously delivering projects every 90 days before you tackle the idea of continuously improving your products. Then we break down into outputs. 2 weeks, every 2 weeks. So as you can see, the outputs every 2 weeks. In what way? User stories. And for those who don't understand what user stories, epics, and features are, we'll go through those in the Agile lesson. But these are just different terminologies that all mean the same thing. The triple O model, objective, outcome, outputs. Agile, theme, epics, user stories. Then you've got the Surge canvas, objective, the how, in what way, the solutions. It doesn't matter what you call these things, just think of them in terms of how big they are and how you're tasking them to remove that fear receptor, to reduce stress, to increase employee value. Just this one thing will increase employee value just from reducing cortisol levels in their systems. And that is Lean Startup. As you can see, we went through Lean and Lean Startup and 5 Whys and MVP and lots of terminology. But we got to remember all these things are all aligned to the same thing. Everyone's trying to sell something to the same solution. It's about breaking the work down into smaller tasks. It's about removing waste, increasing customer value. And you can do that through increasing employee value, which increases customer value, or go straight through customer value, which will also increase employee value. Awesome. I hope you love this episode. This is one of my favorite episodes, even though we define business agility as really design thinking plus agile delivery. Lean Startup is a great another tool that you can use in your toolkit for the right organization at the right time. Thank you.